Everyone, my name is H. Dilimoy, a student of Mizoram University studying MBA second semester. In this video, we'll be discussing about inflation and its type in economics. First of all, what is inflation? Inflation is one of the most common refrains heard across the country. Inflation is the rise in the prices of goods and services. This can be of daily and common use items such as food, clothing, housing, recreation, transport, consumer staples, or even industrial goods. Inflation means the average price rise over time. The opposite and rare fall in prices of goods and services is called deflation. Inflation indicates a fall in purchasing power, that is, for instance, a 100-rupee note buys lesser amount of the same commodity over a period of time. The effects of inflation. The purchasing power of the currency falls as goods and services get costlier. When inflation is high, the cost of living gets higher as well, beyond the reasonable level. Inflation ultimately hurts economic growth. A certain level of inflation is required in the economy to promote expenditure, encourage the production of goods and services, and to demotivate holding money in saving. As money generally loses its value over time, it is important for people to invest and to ensure the economic growth of a country. Who measures and controls inflation in India? In India, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation measures inflation. Country's central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, works to limit inflation within a bank through its monetary policy by using tools as repo rate. The government also influences inflation through its taxation and fiscal policy. Higher MPSP on agri products, taxes on petrol and diesel, or even clothes can lead to a rise in inflation. It leads to a fall in inflation. How is inflation measured? In India, inflation is primarily measured by the two main indices: Wholesale Price Index (WPI) and Consumer Price Index (CPI). WPI and CPI respectively measure wholesale and retail level price changes. CPI measures the rises in price of the commodity and services such as food, medical care, education, electronics, etc., which consumer buys in use. On the other hand, WPI captures the goods or services sold by business to smaller businesses for selling further. Now, let us look at the types of inflation. We have two broad types of inflation. The first one is demand pull inflation. This is the most common type of inflation in economy. It occurs due to change in aggregate demand, also known as total demand. Aggregate demand increases while aggregate supply cannot increase proportionately, or it is like it remains almost the same. So the simple way to understand demand pull inflation is demand from buyers. Buyers are consumers just like us. Has increased because buyers has got more money. There can be many reasons of having more money in the hands of buyers, like their wages are increased, or supply per capita income in the economy has increased. So the sellers, they want to increase the supply to meet the increased demand from buyers, but supply cannot be increased overnight, or supply cannot be increased in short duration of time because goods need to be manufactured. So sellers will increase the prices. So this is demand pull inflation. The second one is cost push inflation. Cost push inflation is caused by increase in cost of inputs such as raw materials, labor, fuel. So these are the inputs, like raw material is an input, labor is an input, fuel is an input, transportation also is an input. So the increase in input prices can cause manufacturers to produce less. Aggregate supply decreases where demand remains constant, so the supply has been decreased but the demand are constant, also called supply shock inflation. It is an increase in crude oil prices can cause this type of inflation. So this is one of the example or one of the causes of inflation, like calamities, wars, epidemics. They can also cause disruption in supply, which will cause this kind of inflation. Also, change in taxation can cause this kind of inflation. But is inflation bad for everyone? Inflation need not be always bad. Economists believe some inflation is necessary for economic growth. However, beyond a limit, inflation hurts both consumers and economic growth. Inflation has also an impact on the assets you hold. For someone with investment in real estate or stock commodity, inflation means that the price of their assets are set for hike. Those who possess cash may be adversely affected by inflation as the value of their cash erodes. So government and central banks work toward control in inflation in an ideal range. Hope you like this video. Thank you.